This person is the president of the Illinois Senate. And a few years back, he has established a fabulous tradition for the City Club where he comes every year before the session and talks about what is on the Senate's plate. One year, a few years back, it was literally the morning before a governor was impeached. He came here at 8 o'clock, and he was, he was commencing the Senate at 10 o'clock in Springfield. Great friend of the City Club and a fabulous civic leader, John Cowerton. Mr. President.
Thank you, Jay. Our guest today is the director of the Illinois Department of Employment Security. He was appointed by our governor 1 year ago. His job is to provide assistance to Illinois families in difficult times, to advocate for taxpayers by guarding against fraud, and to get people back to work by being the state's employment office. Our guest today earned his Bachelor's of Art in Public Communications from American University in Washington, D.C. He earned his law degree at the best law school in America, Loyola University in Chicago. He and his wife, Annette, are the proud parents of a baby girl. And more recently, before this appointment, he was head of the Senate Democrats' Victory Fund. That's how I know him so well. And I'm particularly interested in his remarks today because I've been reading in the Chicago Tribune that Illinois is last in the nation in everything. We're bankrupt, we're mismanaged, and I'm kind of curious to see if he has any information that can confirm or deny that. So please welcome Jay Rowell.
Thank you, John. So thank you, Senator, for that very kind introduction. And we are doing much better than that. So it's an honor and a privilege to be here today and see some of the city's and state's most esteemed leaders. And I'm grateful to the City Club of Chicago and its president, Mr. Jay Doherty, for the opportunity to talk about the Illinois Department of Employment Security, or IDES as we call it. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Annette Payo, for being kind enough to listen to me practice this speech more than once. Let me just say that. So thank you. So I want to begin today with a couple of questions. First, how many of you think that IDES just pays unemployment insurance benefits? And so we can do a raise of hands to see. Yeah, okay, you're in for that. All right, and how many of you think that IDES helps businesses recruit new employees? You're with you there? Okay, thank you. So the show of hands is revealing. A few more of you said, understandably, that IDES does administer unemployment insurance benefits, but we do and will do so much more. It's really my goal to turn IDES into the state's employment office. And so if you remember nothing else from this talk today, I want you to remember that IDES is becoming Illinois' employment office. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Illinois' economy and Governor Quinn's vision for a new IDES. And I want to talk about the economy as it provides a context for why Illinois needs a more engaged and energetic employment office. So Illinois, like the rest of the United States, continues to dig its way out of the Great Recession. And it's important to remember just how dire the situation was a few years back. As you can see here, in 2009, the stock market literally slid off a cliff, and 48% of Americans saw the value of their homes decline. And in Illinois, the unemployment rate went from the mid 5% range to over 11% in early 2010. So here, Illinois is the red line, and the U.S. is the blue. So between January of 2008 and December of 2009, in that 2-year period, Illinois lost over 410,000 non-farm jobs. A recent Pew Research study found that 1 in 3 adult workers, that's 32%, were unemployed during the recession. I mean, just think about that number for a second. 1 in 3. I'm sure that everyone here today knows someone who lost their job, and many of you likely had to make very difficult decisions concerning your own employees. So all of us have truly been affected in one way or another from the Great Recession. But as you can see here, things are starting to improve. Since January of 2011, Illinois has seen steady but uneven job growth. On average, we're adding about 4,000 jobs a month. So while things are improving, it's also important to recognize that there are some clouds on the horizon. In Illinois, because we're a major international player, we're infected by the uncertainty in other parts of the world. In addition, this fiscal cliff rhetoric coming out of Washington, D.C. helps no one. But as you can see here, we endured a similar soft patch in May and June and July of last year for almost exactly the same reasons. So knowing this, many private sector economists are predicting that Illinois' economy will grow at about a 2.5% rate on average for the next few years. And so this might surprise you. That monthly job growth has added 140,000 private sector jobs. 140,000 private sector jobs. Now, you don't hear that number get reported too often, but it's a fact. And these jobs have been added in some key sectors, including professional and business, manufacturing, trade, transportation, and utilities. So the key question is really, why is this happening? And I'd say we have job growth in large part due to the hard work of Governor Quinn. We have job growth in Illinois because of the willingness of our legislature to enact important bipartisan legislation that helps Illinois' businesses compete. Legislation such as workers' compensation reform, Medicaid reform, and unemployment insurance reform. And soon, I believe pension reform will join that list. And that's really a top priority, as credit rating agency downgrades will have a serious negative consequence on job growth in Illinois. But in addition, we have job growth because of Illinois' businessmen and women who are betting on Illinois workers, a bet that some of our nation's most influential employers are taking. And the governor has worked extremely hard to encourage a number of companies to relocate or expand in Illinois. And maybe you've heard of them. There's companies like Ford, Motorola, Continental Tire, FedEx, Chrysler, Mitsubishi, and just the other day, Astellas Pharmaceuticals joined this growing list. And some people from outside of Illinois are starting to take notice. Site Selection Magazine picked both Illinois and Chicago as among the top 10 locations for new or expanded corporate facilities. So Illinois ranked 8th among the states, and Chicago was number one in the metropolitan areas category. And Site Selection Magazine is one of the nation's premier corporate and real estate and economic publications. And U.S. News & World Report, in its 2011 survey, ranked Illinois 5th among business-friendly states. And that's not 5th from the bottom, that's 5th from the top. Yeah, it's a little out of order, isn't it? Yeah. So these positive business trends are reflected in the number of job openings in Illinois. Nearly 180,000 jobs are currently posted online. And that number, as you can see here, rivals our pre-recession peak. So we've added 140,000 private sector jobs and have 180,000 job openings online. So clearly, Illinois is headed in the right direction. And so that's the context for a governor's vision for a new IDES. An economic recovery, but a recovery that hasn't reached every door and with an unemployment rate that's still unacceptably high. So when the governor appointed me last June, he shared with me his special responsibilities for the department. He wanted me to focus on becoming Illinois' employment office, on helping families hardest hit during these difficult times, and on rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish in such a short time. And the governor is not the only one who feels the way to reduce unemployment is for IDES to become an engaged and energetic employment office. President Obama recently said, it's time to turn our unemployment system into a reemployment system that puts people to work. And we're doing just that. So I don't have a lot of time today, but I want to focus on 4 key areas, 4 specific ways that we're becoming Illinois' employment office. 1 is our focus on veterans. 2 is how we're incentivizing hiring. 3 is our no-cost HR recruiting. And 4 is Illinois JobLink, which there's a pamphlet on all of your tables. And I'm going to go through it. It's a no-cost job board. And if you're not using it, I'm going to convince you why you should. So with so many veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, we have the opportunity to match their skills and leadership with jobs right here in Illinois. IDES has 60 full-time staff who are all veterans themselves that do nothing else besides help veterans find work. And we will work with tens of thousands of Illinois veterans this year alone. We also host veterans job fairs across Illinois. We recently partnered with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on an extremely successful veterans job fair in Chicago. You might have seen it on the Today Show. IDES recruited 80% of the 135 employers that attended the event. And we called nearly 8,000 veterans to encourage them to attend and apply for jobs. Next month, we're doing something that we're very excited about. We're partnering with JP Morgan Chase on their 100,000 Jobs initiative. And what we're partnering on is a hiring event. So this isn't the type of job fair that you see on CNN with hundreds of job seekers in line for 5 jobs. And it's not the kind where employers get hundreds of resumes, but none of them actually fit their needs. We're working with Chase to pre-screen the applicants so that veterans can literally be interviewed and hired right on the spot. And we're very excited about this hiring event and cannot thank UIC enough for being such generous hosts. So this is the least that we can do for our veterans who've sacrificed so much for our country, and we're really happy and proud to be able to do it. So the second way that we're coming Illinois' employment office is through our tax credits. In 2011, we leveraged $66 million in federal income tax credits to incentivize Illinois employers to hire 27,000 new employees. For hiring certain individuals, like disabled veterans, you can receive up to a $9,600 tax credit. So we hope that our tax credits will become an important part of your hiring process. And the third way is our brand new employer services teams. In the new IDES, I've challenged my staff to have this team be a no-cost HR recruiter for every Illinois business that needs one. Now, the first step was a pilot with Aon Insurance, where we helped them fill 100 positions and cut their training time in half. So Aon was planning to hire 100 people and then train them to get their insurance license. And IDES was able to identify for Aon job seekers that already had their insurance licenses, so it cut months out of their training time, saving Aon thousands of dollars in training costs and allowing them to get to market faster. So we identified the employees, we made the calls, we set up the interviews, they did the hiring, and we can do this for your business too, all at no cost. And finally, the newest and most effective tool we have in our employment office arsenal is Illinois JobLink. Now, Illinois JobLink is a web-based system that connects job seekers with employers. It has all the functionalities of a commercial job board, like a career builder or a monster.com, but commercial job boards, can charge up to $400 to post just a single job. We don't charge employers to post jobs in Illinois JobLink. Illinois JobLink has customizable search tools that let employers and job seekers weed through tens of thousands of resumes or job postings. And that way, employers can easily pinpoint a unique person to meet their needs. We have over 72,000 resumes posted in Illinois JobLinks for employers to search through, and we've already worked with thousands of Illinois businesses to post nearly 40,000 jobs in Illinois JobLink. Those are all ones our department recruited. And we work with commercial job boards so that job seekers can see 60,000 additional job postings. So what does all that mean? I was at an employment workshop that we conducted in our Jacksonville office last month. And the first thing our staff did was they ran a search in Illinois JobLink for area jobs. And over 2,500 jobs came up in the Jacksonville area, 2,500 jobs. And you could just see the faces of the people there. They just lit up. They lit up because there was hope. They had hope that there were real jobs out there that real people like them could get. And Illinois JobLink can work just as well for businesses. We used Illinois JobLink to help find employees for the Torrance plant that Ford recently added shifts to, and we referred over 400 employees to Chrysler. In Quincy, Illinois, we worked with a truck manufacturing company called Knapheide, who's hired 75 people using Illinois JobLink. And those are just some success stories. And the best part is Illinois JobLink's just getting started. We launched it to the public in just April. So here's my pitch to all the employers here today. If you need employees with specific skills, our employer services teams using Illinois JobLink is your best option by far. So while we're linking people to new jobs, we also provide them with unemployment insurance benefits. In 2011 alone, we've helped families by providing $5.5 billion in benefits to over 770,000 people. Benefits that have helped prevent foreclosures and evictions, that have helped put food on the table, that have helped keep kids in schools, and that have helped keep families together. But there's more to benefits than just that. For each dollar that's paid out, it generates $1.63 in economic activity, $1.63. So most economists would call that a pretty good return on investment, an investment that goes right back into our local economy to support our local businesses. And we just reformed the unemployment insurance system, thanks to the leadership in both parties. Reform that reduced taxes to the tune of $400 million. Reform that means 43% of Illinois businesses got a 16% tax cut. That's 143,000 Illinois businesses now paying lower taxes for unemployment insurance. And make no mistake, this was not easy. This legislation took 4 months of intense negotiations between both parties, between business and labor, and between many of the people in the room here today. But it was a good bill that also gave IDES new tools to root out fraud. Now, fraud hurts our businesses, it hurts our families, and it hurts our state. At the new IDES, we have zero tolerance for fraud. 2 new fiscal integrity programs we've recently launched have saved $50 million in the last 4 months alone. Through one of these programs, IDES recovered $37.5 million from people who've defrauded the agency over the last 30 years. That's $37.5 million that we got back for taxpayers. IDES detected a new unemployment insurance scheme that stole over $9 million from states across the nation. And we referred that case to the U.S. Attorney, and I'm pleased to report that those responsible were recently indicted, and I hope soon will be convicted. We also just partnered with Attorney General Lisa Madigan to hire 2 criminal assistant attorney generals, and they have the green light to investigate and bring charges against any and all who commit fraud. And that's just the beginning. I'm sure you've heard about Governor Quinn and the legislature recently saving our Medicaid system with sweeping bipartisan reform package that helped put Medicaid on a sustainable path. Now, this was a major accomplishment, but what you probably didn't hear was about a provision in that bill, a provision that will create a first-in-the-nation Medicaid fraud detection system. Now, the Department of Healthcare and Family Services will bring additional fiscal integrity to Medicaid using IDS's new monthly wage records to help ensure that just those whose income makes them eligible will be the ones who get Medicaid benefits. And that's just one of the many new programs IDS is working on to root out fraud. So that's the new IDS that the governor has challenged us to build. One that helps job seekers find good jobs is Illinois' Employment Office, one that helps families, and one that roots out fraud. So that's how we're serving the state and how we're serving you. And those are a few of the highlights of what we've accomplished in my first year. And if you're kind enough, I look forward to coming back next year to give you a recap on year 2. So I started my talk today by asking you a few questions, and if there's time, I'd be happy to try and answer a few of yours. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. It's a great question. I would say that's one of the fairest taxes that there are. It's literally determined based off of your employer's the employer's experience with the system. So if you're an employer that's had no history of layoffs, your tax rate goes down. And if you have a number of layoffs, then it goes up. And the purpose of this is so that way the employer is really paying for the benefits that they are costing the system. So it's a very fair system, and that's how they're done.
Okay, now we have some coming in fast and furious. Guy Maris, Hennessy and Roach. Has IDS been able to effectively use the reformed workers' compensation system to recruit new employees to Illinois?
So we don't administer the workers' compensation system. I just pointed that out as one of the reforms that has been enacted by the legislature that helped reduce costs on businesses. But we have been working with workers' compensation system to weed out fraud, and with Director Weems. We're now, with a shared data agreement, providing them with wage records and other people to make sure that people aren't working while they're receiving benefits and things of that nature. And so we hope over the long term that will reduce costs for businesses because we're weeding out that fraud.
Okay. This is it, the last question. You really?
Got any?
No, I listen, Could become the next U.S. attorney with all this talk on fraud. Hold on. Here we go. This is from the first name is impossible.
Ryan Van Meter
What's this? A
from
plant?
TPAM. Yeah, I recruited him to come.
Kid's going to go. You can see he
He's
worked
right
for
there. He's right there.
You can see he worked for the Illinois Senate. Congratulations on your accomplishments. What barriers exist to expanding your work? No softball there.
Well, thank you, Ryan. So, I think the barriers is just an education issue. We really need to get out and aggressively educate Illinois businesses about the services that we offer. So hopefully they'll come and use us to find skilled workers. And so that's part of the reason why we just brought Gideon Bluestein on board. He used to work for the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, and he's really focused on getting up and running a new division that we just started, Business Services. And the main goal is really to do those 4 things that I mentioned, to help hire veterans, to incentivize employers to hire people, and to use these new recruiters, no-cost HR recruiting through Illinois JobLink. So, Gideon, you've got a big task ahead of you, but I know you'll do a great job.
Okay, this will be the last question because this question, the person doesn't even do his last name. Rudy, where are you? Okay, Rudy, well, we've had people here who don't want to even use their first name, so don't worry about it. How is the unemployment rate calculated? Also, how is the $1 benefit for $1.63 calculated? You want to?
Yeah, I got it.
You got, okay.
So, thank you, Rudy. How is the unemployment rate calculated? So essentially, it's a survey that's done nationwide with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they've been doing it for about 50 years and have been doing it pretty well. And so essentially what they do is they call people. It's similar to a poll. And so we get really hung up when those poll results come back about a slight change, a tenth here or a tenth there. But really it's a poll and it has a margin of error into it. And so what you really got to look at is sort of the longer term trend. Like we often talk about 3 months and looking at in those increments. And so actually if you go back over the last 8 months, Illinois' unemployment rate has gone down for 8 months consecutively. So as for how the dollar in benefits, paid out, creating $1.63 of economic activity. So that calculation was done by the Congressional Budget Office, and exactly how they monitor that growth, I don't know. But I can send you the 200-page report on it, Rudy, for you to review.
Well, this will be this is sort of.
You keep saying that.
I mean, these are more encores than Barbara Streisand. Here we go. Barbara Olson, where are you, Barbara? There she is.
I didn't recruit her.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. These are some of the hardest hitting questions I've ever seen. Have you considered conducting classes, group sessions, a job search techniques, e.g. guest speakers from business and staffing? Barbara, what are you asking here? It's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and that was a need that I saw that we were lacking. And so, working with the federal government, we put in place a new program in April, and so now we bring in every week about 4,000 or 5,000 people who are receiving unemployment insurance benefits to give them job search tips and show them how Illinois JobLink works, try and connect them with local employers, and so that workshop that I mentioned in Jacksonville, Illinois, that was actually one of those that I was at last month. And so we really start out, and what they did there was they focused on how many jobs were available in that area. Because I think it's really important for the unemployed, especially the long-term unemployed, to really see that there are opportunities out there, that companies are hiring, that there's 180,000 jobs available right now in Illinois. And so that's what we really try to focus on and are now doing with those workshops. But I'd love any ideas that you have on how we could make those better.
How do you publicize those workshops?
So we're bringing in, we basically have about 285,000 people that are currently receiving unemployment insurance benefits in Illinois, and it's a mandatory program that each one of them has to come in at a certain time during their benefits. So that's how we do that, and we're going to work on, as this we kind of hone our skills at this and get better and better at it, I'm hoping to offer this just to people in the general and public. Because what we're finding now with Illinois JobLink, since there are so many jobs available in it, that we're seeing people who are underemployed now starting to use it, and then as well as people who have good jobs who are just looking for a career change. Because there's just so many opportunities, 100,000 jobs in the system. So it's great.
Well,
I think we got another one.
John, I give you a lot more credit for running the Senate. This is not that easy. This is turning into the... Now, you could ask the question, but no rants. Okay, go ahead.
I would be happy to. But first, Karen, I think you're doing a great job really organizing. The Cook County is now separated into 3 different workforce investment board areas, and what they're really tasked with is doing job training and job training programs. And so they are consolidating, which is it's a Herculean effort in a very narrow time frame that the President Preckwinkle has given you and Mayor Emanuel. So really a kudos to you and your team for putting that together. But that's one of the key things that we need to do a better job with. And I'm very excited about the possibilities with this. So in my view, the front door, if you're looking for employment, should run through Illinois JobLink. And what we need to do is try and get all those people who have the job skills ready right now so they can be reemployed. We need to get them reemployed as soon as we can. But there's individuals who, the economy has changed, they've worked at one place for 25 years, or they just don't have the job skills in this job market. And so we really need to work better, and I know that we will, with the local workforce investment areas to get those folks over to you, and so you can enroll them in the very valuable training programs that you run. And it's not just a Cook County program, it's statewide. There's workforce investment boards, 26 of them in Illinois. Well, soon to be 24, because you're consolidating them, but throughout the state that offer some very valuable training services.
How about a round of applause? Well done.
Thank you.
We got partying going.
Oh, great.